Can people hear me? Can you hear me back there? Okay, good. So I'm just going to go through a few slides. It's basically like a biodiesel 101. Probably a lot of stuff you might know and maybe some stuff that you thought you knew that you didn't. So we're going to do that real quick. This is Tri-State Biodiesel presentation. This is not the right presentation. Oh, that's okay. I think it'll work. What is biodiesel? Biodiesel is clean burning alternative fuel produced from domestic renewable resources. Okay, biodiesel contains no petroleum, but can be blended at any level with petroleum diesel to create a biodiesel blend. If I stand up, can people hear me? Because I'm going to go turn around there. Biodiesel can be used with compression ignition engines. That means a diesel engine with little or no modifications. Biodiesel is simple to use, it's biodegradable, it's non-toxic, and essentially free of sulfur and aromatics. Okay, how is biodiesel made? Biodiesel is made through a chemical process called transesterification, whereby the glycerin is separated from the fat or vegetable oil, leaving methyl ethers or biodiesel. Methyl ethers is a chemical name for biodiesel, and glycerin, which is a valuable byproduct, usually sold used in soaps and other products. Plain de-icer is a popular use for glycerol right now. And David Yaski will. Biodiesel can be made from virgin seed oils, or waste cooking oil as we do, or animal fats. This chart here shows the trajectory of the biodiesel industry in the United States. It's a very young industry. We only even got on the map with production about 8 years ago, and have a slow start until 2005 when we saw some big tax credit and a lot of investment and build out in the industry. So the last few years has really grown quite a bit and become a substantial player in alternative fuels. Who's using biodiesel today? Biodiesel's been adopted by a lot of government fleets around the country. The primary initial user for biodiesel was government fleets. A lot of private fleets now have also come on board with biodiesel use. We have a lot of use in the military. The Navy's a big user. Nautical fleets, the boating industry likes using biodiesel, especially pure biodiesel in sensitive water areas. Here in the Northeast, heating oil is a big use for biodiesel. And it also can be used to generate electricity, and finally in individually owned vehicles. There's now biodiesel use has now really become widespread in the last few years. The states of Washington and Minneapolis both have a biodiesel mandate, as does parts of Oregon, Missouri, New Mexico, and Pennsylvania all have different mandates for use as well as incentives. So you've got a lot of biodiesel now being used around the country. We've got thousands of public and private trucking fleets around the country using biodiesel. Yellowstone National Park, the very first institutional user of biodiesel. 13 years ago they started using biodiesel. They use 100% biodiesel in all their vehicles that patrol Yellowstone Park, and they're doing great with it. Safeway Food Stores, a big user that recently switched over to all biodiesel in their fleet. And here in New York, New York Parks Department has been using biodiesel for, I guess, 3 years now. They use B20 fleet-wide in about 700 vehicles. And the Department of Sanitation is now using B5 fleet-wide, as I understand. So,
can you explain what B5 is and B20?
Oh, sure. B20 is 20% biodiesel. In biodiesel, as I said earlier, you can blend the biodiesel with diesel fuel. It's often used institutionally as a blend rather than pure. And so B20 means 20% biodiesel, and B5 means 5% biodiesel. You could also have a B50 if it's 50% biodiesel, or whatever blend ratio. Some of the basic benefits are maintenance costs. Biodiesel provides better lubricity, complies with low sulfur rules. There's no sulfur in the biodiesel, so if you mix biodiesel with sulfur fuel, you get a lower sulfur of petroleum, and helps fleets with their environmental compliance. The obvious other benefits are emissions reductions, about 78% tailpipe reductions overall. It's also reduces greenhouse gases, and it's also easier on your people that run the trucks and maintenance the trucks. It's less toxic for them to handle. It's less toxic for them to breathe. Biodiesel in its pure form is readily biodegradable and is safer because it has a much higher flash point, so it doesn't light on fire or blow up as easy as petrodiesel. Here's a closer look at some of the emissions reductions. The yellow bars here show the percent of reduction of each of those categories of the 100% biodiesel. The green bars show the reduction percentage of a B20 mix. And so this is the source of this is the US EPA and also the US Department of Energy and the National Renewable Energy Laboratories, which is part of the Department of Energy. So you can see we have good emissions reductions across the board. This is a study that was done at the Harvard Alternative Fuel Program. We often get the question, well, is it better than gas? Is it better than natural gas, or compressed natural gas, and all these different things? And it's actually harder than you'd think to test that because they have different kinds of engine characteristics and different life cycle dynamics for each of the fuels. So the Harvard Alternative Fuel Vehicle Program attempted to do a very conclusive study where they took in all the life cycle data and they looked at the total life cycle greenhouse emissions, and they found a B100 was actually at the top of the list, which surprised a lot of people that even did the study. I think a lot of us would have thought a diesel hybrid or something like that would be higher. We see that diesel, another thing interesting on this chart, a lot of people don't realize diesel, even pure, contributes a lot less greenhouse gas emissions because you can burn less diesel and go the same amount of distance than you can gasoline. So diesel gives about 20% more bang for the buck, as it were. The other great thing, especially for a place like New York City, is the health benefits of biodiesel. One of the reasons I fell in love with the fuel in the first place. According to the American Lung Association, biodiesel exhaust is 90% less toxic as compared to petroleum diesel. Particulate matter is known to cause cancer and lung disease. It's about 55% lower in biodiesel fuel. And as a lot of us probably know, New York City has one of the highest incidents of lung disease and premature death nationwide as a result of petrodiesel exhaust. And some of our neighborhoods have asthma rates that are as much as 5 times the national average, including neighborhoods like South Bronx and Sunset Park, who report 1 in 4 kids with asthma. These are all in diesel thoroughfares, and they are all highly exposed to diesel fumes. So if I had my way, I would put all the biodiesel we could in school buses and in corridors where low-income communities are exposed to high levels of diesel emissions. A lot of people like biodiesel also because it helps create energy security. It's a homegrown fuel source, so we keep our energy dollars at home when we use biodiesel rather than shipping them abroad. It creates safe and stable jobs for American workers, both either at the farm or at the factory or at the delivery point. We keep our energy money in our economy, as I said, and we don't, how did I say it? We don't have to overextend our military resources to protect supply. So another reason that I like biodiesel a lot. And something else I want to touch on briefly, biodiesel is not corn ethanol. A lot of the recent bad press on something called biofuels is primarily focused on the data around corn-based ethanol. And it's very important for us to distinguish biofuels being a very broad term, and there being a lot of different kinds of biofuels. One is corn ethanol, one is soybean biodiesel, one is recycled oil biodiesel, and there are many others. And each of those has a different life cycle profile. Each of those has different pluses and minuses to them. So we need to really smart up the conversation, not dumb it down, and look at the individual fuels one by one rather than throwing blanket statements out. And that's what this is about. Biodiesel in the United States is made from soy and cottonseed oil, waste animal fats, and used restaurant oil. Not primarily from corn, although there is some secondary corn oil in the mix. Primarily right now in the market, because of the high cost of soybean oil, the primary feedstocks for biodiesel are waste animal fats, used restaurant oil, and then it's mixed with soybean oil. So most of the producers now have a mix, and a big part of that mix is recycled feedstocks. With corn, both the food and the fuel come from the starchy kernel. In the case of soy, the food comes from the meal and the fuel from the oil. So that's another thing to understand. Soybean has 2 different components that go into different markets. Corn has that one starchy kernel, and you can either go to fuel or food with that. Biodiesel from these materials does not significantly increase food prices, That is a myth. Tri-State Biodiesel's fuels is made from waste cooking oil collected from local New York City restaurants. And finally, your tortillas and beer are not more expensive because of our biodiesel. So that, I think, is my piece of the Biodiesel 101, and I look forward to talking some more about it.
Frank, I should flick it forward.